Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to Books with My Quiet Friends. My name's Sidney and today I'm here to bring you my most disappointing books of 2017. So a little information about this. Instead of doing books that I hated, I'm just choosing low-rated books that I didn't particularly like or I found were disappointing based on hype that I had heard earlier. Sorry if your favorite books are in here, these are just my personal opinions, you know, yada yada yada. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. My favorite books will be coming up in January, so if you want to watch that, that's there. If you don't want me to throw some shade on your favorite books, click away, disappear, it's okay, I get ya. Also, if anyone's wondering why I'm not holding up the books, I've already donated them. They've been donated to a bookstore or my local library for other people and teens who might enjoy them more. I'm going to start with my most current disappointing read and work my way back throughout the year. So the first one for me was the Everneath series, and I put the Everneath series because overall it was just a 3 out of 5 star read for me. I'd heard such good things about it. I'd seen so many people say, oh, it's like classic paranormal, guilty pleasure, whatever, and I'd listened to it on audiobook. I read the first book. I enjoyed it. It was okay. It wasn't anything spectacular, but I could see why people enjoyed it. The second book I really enjoyed, and I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but the last book I gave 2 out of 5 stars. Almost a 1.5 out of 5 stars if I were being honest here. I don't like to give really low ratings because I try and find redeeming qualities, but I just think it was such a letdown to the whole series. That last book just did nothing for me. I was frustrated. Listening to it, I was rolling my eyes so many times. It was just not for me. Not for me at all. That being said, I am interested in more works by Brody Ashton and seeing what else that author is able to write and if it would be similar or different, all that jazz. The next disappointing book for me was The Star-Touched Queen by Roshni Chachki. I gave this 2.5 out of 5 stars, and looking back, I think that's generous. The writing in this book is beautiful. It is gorgeous, and I really enjoyed how it flowed and how the writing was. I thought that was a very interesting aspect. That being said, I finished the book, put it down, and haven't really given it much of a thought since, other than the beautiful writing. I think that the plot was very predictable. I think that the characters just were not for me. I didn't care for them. I also do not plan on continuing with the companion novel. If you are sensing a theme of hyped books, you are totally right. This was the year that I read so many hyped books. Some good, some bad. The next one is The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid. Now this is raved about by Peruse Project and A Book Utopia, so Sasha Alsberg and Reagan. And I thought, oh yeah, like I think that my reading tastes really line up with theirs. I think that I would be interested in something that they're also interested in. Let's give it a try. It turns out I didn't care for it. In the beginning, I was interested in the story. I like the idea of clones and themes of making genetically modified things, all that jazz. I think those are interesting concepts to put into a book, especially a YA book. But the plot overall just did not do it for me. I thought that this book just, I don't know, it just didn't do it for me at all. I don't plan on continuing with the series, even though I've seen really good reviews for The Empress. Just doesn't seem like something that I want to take my time with. A book that was suggested by booktubers, my sister, family members, friends, all those beautiful people, was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. Yes, I know this is a well-beloved series, and for anyone who loves it, I am so happy you enjoyed it. I did not. I gave this book 2.5 out of 5 stars. I honestly cannot remember that much about it. I remember a weird love interest that I don't want to go into because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But I think the book was just too young for me. I think I'd grown out of that style of reading. I also think that the writing wasn't particularly my style. Like, it didn't catch my interest. The pictures were the only thing that really kept my attention throughout the story, which is unfortunate, but I'm still debating whether or not to continue the series. If you think they get better over time, please let me know. I'm curious. Maybe I'll try it someday. Maybe I'll get it on audiobook and then just like look at the pictures later. Who knows? Replica by Lauren Oliver was another book that was talked about a lot on BookTube this year. And I think that it was an interesting concept. Once again, I like the ideas of clones and sci-fi and all that stuff. Those things really interest me. When I read the concept, it reminded me a lot of The Island, which is a movie. Oh my god, I'm dating myself. Anyways, it's a movie. Look it up on IMDb or what have you. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Looking back, I think it was very generous. I recently watched a video from Between Chapters, her November wrap-up, I do believe, where she talks a little bit about her feelings. I could not agree more about the body shaming in this book, and it's never dealt with in a way that I thought was appeasing. Like, I think that the whole time the author was describing people as too thin, too fat, like a hippopotamus, you know, all those things are very hurtful to young girls, or even girls my age, to read. I think that it's sad that that was what that book had to offer us in a clone book. I also think that while the flipping idea was really cool, it seemed cool, it was, yeah, I get it, like, woo, you've never seen this before, wow. It did nothing for me. There were a lot of scenes that were exactly the same that I didn't think need to be rehashed over and over again. I am not continuing with this series. Yes, I have read other books by Lauren Oliver and I have enjoyed them. This just was not one of them for me. The Black Key by Amy Ewing is another book that is a finale in a series that I just did not care for. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I think that the lead up to this last book was very interesting. I think it was a world that we hadn't really seen before with surrogates and all those aspects, but I just don't think that the ending gave me what it needed to, which might just be a personal problem because I have a lot of problems with the end of books sometimes. I often find that the first book's my favorite, the second book's kind of fillery, and the third book is just kind of like, nah, it's a means to an end. But it was overall even more disappointing for me, just the way things played out and the way it was so unique. Personally, that's just my opinion. If you love this book, I'm terribly sorry, but I just did not. I also read Shiny Broken Pieces by Sana Chiraportra and Danielle Clayton. I think that's how you say their names. I said it wrong so many times in past videos. Anyways, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I thought overall this book was just way too over the top, which is really saying something because the first book is also super dramatic. If you are a fan of Gossip Girl, things like that, I would highly suggest the first book. Yes, you're going to want to read the second book because it leaves off on a cliffhanger. Know that the second book might not be what you anticipate, or it just gets so unrealistically wild. Again, this is a book that's an ending of a duology, so maybe it's just me not liking the way things wrapped up, or how I imagined things wrapping up just didn't happen. That could be a total me problem, but just disappointing. I kept the first book. The second book, I have donated. Another book I listened to on audiobook on a road trip was The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall. Took me a minute to remember who it was by, sorry. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I think that it was an interesting idea, but once again, just not executed the way I wanted it to be executed, which left me feeling disappointed, especially after I'd seen so many people say like, oh, it's very interesting, it's very like high-paced. I really thought that it wasn't as fast-paced as I wanted it to be, and the love triangle, while it was interesting, just wasn't 100% necessary. I'm still debating whether or not to continue on with this series, just based on how much people have liked the last 2 books that have come out in the series. But I don't think that I would purchase the series for myself. I would rather get it from the library or take it out on audiobooks. Finally, if you have watched since my first very shitty video, there is a book that I read that I despised so utterly. Oh, I don't even know if it's disappointment or just pure hate for this book, and that's so harsh, but that book is Deep Blue by Jennifer Donnelly. A, it was too young for me. B, the characters in the plot were just nothing I enjoyed. Yes, the idea of mermaids was very interesting. I love the idea of mermaids and like mythical and ooh, you know, something's in the water and like no one's explored all the ocean yet, so I'm just saying it gives me that vibe of like, ooh, maybe. I'm an adult, yeah, I know. If you came for tea, I'm about to spill it. I hated all the characters. The plot was way too convenient for the storyline, and I just hated it overall. I originally gave this 2 out of 5 stars. I would give it 0.5 or 1 out of 5 stars. I have nothing really great to say about this other than if you're possibly a middle grade reader who hasn't done a lot of reading before, you might like this because it's not something that someone who has read a lot of YA or middle grade would enjoy, in my opinion. It's just too predictable, the plot's too convenient. It's just meh. I pushed myself through it, I read it, I finished it. It's also how I decided that maybe I should start DNFing books. Well guys, those are the books that were slightly disappointing to me this year. I will be back at some point with my favorite books of the year or my top rated books of the year. Most memorable. I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet. It's gonna be something. It'll come in January, so if you want a more like upbeat, I'm so excited about reading video, that will come, I promise you. If you enjoyed all my possibly negative opinions on these books, please let me know down below. What was your most disappointing book of the year, and what was your favorite book of the year? Let me know in the comments if you want to. Have a great weekend. Bye!